Quick question. How many of you are actually done with winter? I'm waiting for you to put something in the comments so that I could start the video. You did? Okay, cool. Unfortunately, winter is just not going to go away quite yet. Mr. Puxatani said it himself. There's still a few more weeks of winter left, apparently. And Mother Nature agrees. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome back to another weather forecast discussion, this time for February 17th, 2025. Now, before we get into why winter is still going to be around, we're going to talk about the Storm Prediction Center and its convective outlooks here. Today, here on Monday, there isn't really a whole lot of severe weather that is going on. Tomorrow, there's a little bit of severe weather down here along the Gulf Coast on the coastline of Louisiana and Texas. And then heading off over into Wednesday, there is the chance for some thunderstorms, and there also is the possibility, at least in my opinion, for there to be some severe weather there as well. But it won't really be as much of a factor here, and we'll head over into our future cast here with the Euro model. The timing is once again in the top left-hand portion of your screen. We have a big band of snow that is currently marching through portions of the northern plains into the central plains. That'll be the setup for our next snowstorm that is going to move on through into portions of the Ozarks here. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, we have some freezing rain that is possible across portions of southern Oklahoma, southern Arkansas, as well as into portions of northern Mississippi. Very heavy snow across areas north of that, and that'll continue to march its way further east as we have that kind of try to be a nor'easter here. But if you were with us in yesterday's video, we talked about how it's fully dependent upon how strong this storm is and how strong this upper level storm is. The trend now is that this storm that is off of the coast of the Carolinas that'll be producing a lot of your heavy rain as well as your wintry conditions has trended a lot less stronger than what it was in the past, meaning that there won't be as much snow and as much freezing precipitation that is going to be falling on the northwestern side. There still is going to be, don't get me wrong, it just won't be as widespread, and we for sure won't see the ceiling that we had earlier. Add that to the fact that we also have our next storm that is going to be moving over into the Pacific Northwest. A huge atmospheric river is going to be moving on through over the next weekend. We're talking on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So definitely something to watch out for, the potential of some flooding. Maybe some mud and rock slides is potentially possible over in some of those areas. So definitely something to watch out for here in the near future. Now, one thing that is also going to be brought along with some of these wintry conditions, as well as just these storms in general, is some really cold air. Now, I know some of you guys might be wondering, Nate, you mentioned that there's a storm up in the northern portions of the United States. There's nothing there on the radar. What are you talking about? Well, this storm, this low pressure system is in the upper portions of the atmosphere, and this is going to be bringing a lot of the cold air that is currently in Canada down into the United States. And I mentioned yesterday that these two storms are going to be doing the tango. They're going to try and combine together, if you will. Well, you have the one storm that is down here in the moist part of the Gulf of Mexico, and it'll once again kind of move on through into portions of the Ozarks, kind of following all the way up into the northern portions, the deep south. But this other storm is really going to bring down a lot of this cold air further and further south. What we are currently looking at is the wind chills. So all these pinks here, we're talking about negative 50 to negative 60 degree wind chills over here in portions of Montana and North Dakota. And all this cold air is going to surge so far south. We're talking some areas over here near Dallas, Texas, that could be seeing wind chills in and around single digits to maybe even around zero on Thursday morning. How crazy is that? And that will continue to just kind of linger throughout the area and continue to move on through all the way up until the weekend, into when things could start to try and warm up a little bit. But up until then, I mean, we're talking about a strong majority of the United States that could see wind chills below freezing sometimes here in the early morning hours and the overnight hours of some of these days. During the day, we could even still be seeing some significant wind chills over here, even in portions all the way from New England up into the Central Plains. I mean, this is as widespread of an Arctic outbreak as you can get it, and a lot of you folks that may live in some of these areas are definitely not going to be accustomed to how cold it's going to be, and I recommend that a lot of you plan accordingly. Now, I'll show you guys how these storms do the tango, if you will. We have one trough that is currently moving over here. This is kind of the remnants of our new storm that has been creating a lot of precipitation in the Pacific Northwest as of recent. This is going to kind of move on through and create our snow, as I mentioned earlier. And we also have the remnants of our very strong jet stream from our previous storm. And this previous storm here is going to create a new kind of sideways trough. You can kind of see it all the way over here. This is your new trough that is going to begin to develop in the northern portions of the United States. And this is going to interact with our other trough, our other low pressure system, which is then going to try and combine or do the tango, as I said earlier. So watch this. You have this storm that is going to try and curl up. This storm is going to try and come back down and follow along with it. Sounds like a very, very scary Valentine's Day story, if you tell me, or maybe even a weird one. But they do try to combine, and this starts to move on through and combine into one giant storm. The problem with that is, however, is that the only storm that is really strong enough to really do a whole lot within all of this compared to the other would be the one that's bringing a significant amount of cold air. The other storm that I mentioned that is going to be moving up the Gulf Coast has trended a lot weaker compared to the previous models that came out, which is a very good sign because that means that there is not going to be as much precipitation to be introduced into the storm, which means not as significant of impacts can be expected. However, just because that is the case does not mean that we cannot see some pretty strong characteristics from these storms. So we'll take a look at the radar here from the North American model. Once again, as I said, the timing is at the top left-hand part of your screen. Snow can start to become a little bit more widespread come Tuesday morning here in portions of Kansas, heading into northern Oklahoma. It starts to spread over into portions of Missouri here along the early to late morning time frame here in Missouri. This will continue to kind of march on through before we can start to see some very heavy snow that can start to fall over here in the afternoon of Tuesday. Some freezing rain and sleet is most certainly possible across some of these areas south of where the major heavy snow is going to be at. That'll continue to move on through further and further east, while we still have the potential for some severe weather down here that can continue to move along the coastline. This will continue to shift off further east all the way into the Carolinas, but you can kind of see how flat this trajectory is. I mentioned earlier that if it was a lot stronger, it would actually try and curl up a little bit more. Watch how flat this turn actually is before it actually starts to move further and further north. So watch this. Storms continue to move on through. We have a lot of freezing rain and snow that is going to exist across portions of the mid-Atlantic over here. This is definitely going to contribute into a lot of our wintry characteristics, but also a lot of this winter precipitation is a lot further north compared to some of the other models, and this will continue to be the case as this moves further and further east. But once again, notice how flat this is. This isn't really curling off to the north very quickly like some other storms that want to try and do the tango. And because of that, we can kind of infer that this storm is not as strong as some of the other models had said before, which is, as I said, absolutely a good thing. Now, I want to show you guys two different models to kind of compare what might be the snow totals here for this storm. First off, you can take a look and see the North American model really likes the idea of maybe around a foot of snow possible across portions of southern Missouri, southeastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma. So definitely something to watch out for with that. And then I want you guys to take a look at the snow totals over here across portions of the mid-Atlantic into the northeast. A lot more of a widespread snow scale that is possible for some of these areas here in the Delmarva Peninsula, as well as in and around the Chesapeake Bay and the mid-Atlantic. And also some snow that is potentially possible across portions of Cape Cod, as well as some significant lake effect snow off of the coast of Lake Ontario. We're talking Syracuse. Syracuse could potentially see some significant snow, maybe even in upwards of 2 feet somewhere in and around that area. We can actually take a look at that specifically and see that some areas over here near Syracuse and in and around Interstate 90 could potentially see a lot of snow over here from lake effect snow all the way up from now until around Friday morning. So definitely something to watch out for with that. But compared to the North American model, the Euro model is a lot more tame. We're talking not as much snow over here with this nor'easter, not as much snow over here within this lake effect snow band that is potentially possible. But we do have some snow that is across portions of the Great Lakes. We're talking the majority of Michigan is going to see snow or at least flurries at some point this week. And we also have a lot less of a sign here of significant snow across portions of southern Missouri, northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas, and portions of Arkansas. So it will really fully depend upon what all is happening. I think a lot of people should expect the worst, but hope for the best in a lot of these situations, especially since there is going to be a lot of changing parts between now and when this storm actually erupts. So definitely something that a lot of people are going to have to pay attention to the National Weather Service and emergency management in case anything does change. I do want to also talk about the freezing rain potential. Freezing rain is still most certainly a threat here across some of these portions of southern North Carolina as well as portions into Arkansas and Oklahoma. So if there are any instances to where you do see freezing rain and the roads are a bit slippery, try and plan ahead of time. Leave 15-20 minutes earlier than you would if you were going to be on the roads. But other than that, don't be on the roads. It is quite a hazard to drive in them, believe me when I say that. As a person who's lived in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic for as long as they have, freezing rain and snow can be a pain in the rear. And for a lot of these people here, I'm sure they've experienced this a dime and a dozen, but a lot of people believe, I'm not sure if it's based off of pride or if it's urgency, but a lot of people believe that they are above what the weather can be sometimes, and that just simply isn't true. So it's just something to consider as that continues to become an issue. I also want to finish off our video here with our atmospheric river. I know a lot of you people might not be familiar with that term. It is an official weather term. It's been an official weather term at least since I first heard it, which was about 3 years ago. And basically what this is this is basically a constant jet stream that is going to be moving off of the coast of the Pacific Ocean on the western side of the United States. And this will constantly bring a crap ton of moisture. We're talking load, wave, or whatever that you want to talk about. It's just going to be wave after wave after wave that is going to try and move off into the northwest, and it will create a lot of precipitation. So definitely something to watch out for as that continues to move on through. You can even see with the loop that it just sticks around for quite some time. So don't expect any real changes of precipitation here, at least here within the Pacific Northwest. So take a look at the timings here. You can see just this first storm moves on through Friday morning into Friday afternoon. You can take a look at this next storm Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then it just becomes a constant jet of moisture that continues to move on through. We're talking Seattle and Portland, the Cascades in general, portions of British Columbia and Alaska. Just a lot of wind, a lot of rain. In higher elevations, it'll be a lot of snow too, but just it's going to be something that is going to be pretty consistent here, at least until the mid stages of next week. We're talking about the 25th, 26th, 27th, where it starts to get a little bit better compared to what it was. A lot of rain is anticipated, as I mentioned. Some areas, especially in higher elevations, could see an upwards of 10 inches of precipitation that is possible if it is all melted into water. But that also means that flash flooding, rock slides, mudslides is going to be very much so possible across a lot of these areas. So it is very important that if there are any flash flood warnings that are issued or any mudslides or rock slides that can be identified ahead of time, and if there's any evacuation orders that are issued for some of these areas, you heed them, because this is absolutely going to be a non-stop system that is going to be moving on through into this area. All right, that is going to be it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. I also want to add in a question of the day. I've been on hiatus for about, 8.5 months. Didn't start coming back until mid part of last week. So I want to ask your guys' thoughts in the comments as well. Did you guys see the new Twisters movie? And if you did, how was it? I saw it. I thought it was pretty good. It was okay, at least. It was not bad enough to ruin the old Twisters, and it was good enough for it to create its own story. Somewhat realistic. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. So What are your guys' thoughts in the comments about that? And yeah, I will catch you guys for tomorrow's upload. So peace out, everyone. Stay safe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.